Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you said yes, when you really wanted to say no? Too many of us are trapped in the cycle of being too nice and let's be clear, kindness is a strength. But being too nice often isn't kindness at all. It's fear, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing others, fear of not being liked, and that fear, it compromises our values. We smile, we nod, we agree. But inside we shrink, we silence our opinions, we overextend ourselves, we accept mediocre work, broken promises, unfair treatment. Because we don't want to ruffle feathers. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a manager I worked with years ago, let's call her Jenna. Everyone loved Jenna. She was warm, friendly, and always said yes, but her team was frustrated. Deadlines slipped, standards dropped. Accountability disappeared. Why? Because Jenna was too nice to confront anyone. She confused kindness with avoidance. One day, a team member pulled her aside and said, "You're so nice to everyone that no one knows what you actually expect." That was her turning point. She started being clear, honest, direct, still kind, but no longer afraid to speak up. And the team, they respected her more. Here's the truth. Being too nice often means you're not being real. We need to replace nice with honest. Replace agreeable with authentic. We need to start valuing relationships enough to be clear, not just comfortable. People don't need you to be easy. They need you to be honest. They don't grow when you're nice. They grow when you care enough to challenge them. So stop being too nice, be real, be kind, be bold, because your voice, your values, your boundaries, they matter. And when you honor them, you don't just become a better friend, partner, or leader. You become a more powerful version of yourself. When we think of someone being too nice, we often imagine a person who is polite, agreeable, and eager to help. On the surface, these traits seem entirely positive, but dig a little deeper, and you'll often find something else hiding underneath: fear. Most of the time, being too nice isn't actually about kindness. It's about avoiding discomfort. It's fear dressed up as friendliness. We say yes when we want to say no, because we're afraid of upsetting someone. We agree with others, even when we disagree internally, because we're afraid of confrontation. We overextend ourselves because we're afraid of being perceived as selfish or difficult. And in doing all of that, we silence our own needs, our own opinions, and our own truths. That's not kindness, that's self-betrayal. Fear drives us to become people pleasers. We walk on eggshells, carefully editing our words, trying not to offend. We make ourselves smaller so others feel comfortable. We stay in relationships, jobs, or situations that no longer serve us because we're afraid of the fallout that might come if we speak our minds. But over time, all that suppressed truth builds resentment, not just toward others, but toward ourselves. We begin to feel invisible, undervalued, and stuck. Why? Because we gave our power away in the name of being nice. Here's the hard truth: not everyone will like you, no matter how nice you are. And chasing approval is a losing game. The more you try to please everyone, the more you lose touch with yourself. Being too nice becomes a mask, a way to hide our discomfort with vulnerability, boundaries, and authenticity. But masks are exhausting. They require constant upkeep, and the longer we wear them, the harder it becomes to remember who we really are underneath. This is not to say we should become harsh, rude, or inconsiderate. It's about recognizing the difference between genuine kindness and performative niceness . Genuine kindness stems from courage. It means being honest even when it's hard. It means saying no when your values are at risk. It means expressing disagreement respectfully, not suppressing it entirely. It means caring about others and caring about yourself. When we let fear guide our niceness, we do a disservice to everyone. People can't truly know us if we never show up fully. They can't trust us if we're not honest. And we can't build meaningful relationships on a foundation of fear and avoidance. If you find yourself being too nice, pause and ask, am I doing this out of care or out of fear? That one question can start to shift everything. Because when you stop letting fear drive your actions, you stop just being nice and start being real. And that's where real connection, respect, and impact begin. Kindness is often mistaken for avoidance, especially in situations where we try to maintain harmony at the cost of our own needs or beliefs. While kindness involves treating others with care, respect, and empathy, avoidance is a strategy used to dodge discomfort, difficult conversations, or conflict, in the context of being too nice. This distinction is crucial because it reveals a core issue. When we prioritize making others feel comfortable over being honest, we're not being kind. We're simply trying to avoid the emotional labor of difficult situations. When we avoid conflict, we might think we're sparing someone's feelings, but in reality, we're often doing more harm than good. By not speaking up when something is wrong, we enable behavior that may not align with our values or standards. We allow misunderstandings to fester, assumptions to grow, and resentment to build. In essence, we're not really helping anyone. We're just sweeping issues under the rug, pretending they don't exist. This false sense of peace might feel good in the moment, but in the long term, it erodes trust and leaves both parties feeling unsatisfied. The truth is, true kindness involves a willingness to engage with discomfort. It requires us to step up and say what needs to be said, even when it's not easy. It's about caring enough to share your thoughts and boundaries honestly, not just keeping the peace at any cost. This might mean addressing an issue with a colleague, friend, or loved one instead of ignoring it. It might mean saying no when you're stretched too thin, rather than agreeing out of a fear of letting someone down. It might mean offering constructive feedback, even if it risks a difficult conversation. But in doing so, you are showing the other person that you respect them enough to be honest. Avoidance, on the other hand, is rooted in a fear of conflict or rejection. It's about sidestepping tough conversations because we don't want to risk the emotional discomfort that comes with them. And while this might feel like the easier path in the short term, it's not sustainable. Over time, people begin to feel like they can't trust us because they never know where we truly stand. They might start to see us as insincere, passive, or even manipulative because we aren't forthright about our needs, feelings, or expectations. Ultimately, avoidance leads to a breakdown in communication, making relationships weaker instead of stronger. Kindness, when practiced genuinely, doesn't mean never upsetting someone. It means delivering honesty with compassion. It's about finding the courage to express yourself while still respecting the other person's perspective. It's about creating space for healthy, productive conversations that might be uncomfortable in the moment, but lead to greater understanding and growth in the long run. When we confuse kindness with avoidance, we lose the opportunity for real connection. True kindness builds bridges, and bridges are built through honesty, openness, and sometimes even discomfort. It's in these moments, when we choose to be real instead of just nice, that we foster trust, deepen relationships, and build respect. And that's where genuine kindness truly shines. When we become too nice, we often unknowingly undermine our ability to lead effectively. At first glance, being nice might seem like an admirable quality, especially in a leader. After all, leaders are expected to inspire trust, motivate others, and create an environment where people feel valued and heard. However, when niceness is taken to an extreme, it can erode the very foundation of leadership. Leaders who prioritize being liked over being respected struggle to create a culture of accountability, clarity, and progress. One of the key roles of a leader is to set clear expectations and hold people accountable. This requires having difficult conversations and making tough decisions, both of which can be uncomfortable. But when a leader is overly concerned with being nice, they might shy away from these conversations in favor of keeping things smooth and conflict-free. They may avoid addressing underperformance, delaying difficult discussions about missed deadlines or subpar results. In doing so, they fail to challenge their team to grow, and the organization suffers as a result. By not confronting these issues directly, the leader sends a subtle message that mediocrity is acceptable, or worse, that no one is held accountable for their actions. This pattern of avoidance may seem harmless at first, but over time, it has serious consequences. Team members begin to feel unclear about their responsibilities or unsure of what is expected of them. They start to rely on the leader's willingness to tolerate mistakes, and this breeds complacency. Without honest feedback or constructive criticism, people fail to develop their skills and reach their full potential. A culture of mediocrity takes root, and productivity stagnates. Moreover, when a leader is overly nice, they might end up sacrificing their own values to avoid conflict. They might say yes to requests they don't have the capacity to fulfill or agree to goals that don't align with the larger vision of the organization. This can result in burnout, frustration, and a sense of being stretched too thin. When leaders aren't clear about their boundaries or priorities, it can create confusion within the team. People may struggle to understand what's important because the leader hasn't clearly communicated what they stand for or what they expect. The lack of clarity can result in disorganization and inefficiency. Being a good leader isn't about being liked all the time. It's about earning respect through integrity, honesty, and fairness. A leader who is willing to make tough decisions, provide honest feedback, and hold themselves and their team accountable earns the trust of their followers. They foster an environment where people feel supported and challenged, where growth is encouraged, and where expectations are clearly communicated. In fact, the most effective leaders know that kindness is not about saying yes to everything or avoiding difficult situations. It's about being honest and transparent, even when the truth is uncomfortable. By setting clear boundaries, making difficult choices, and challenging their team to rise to the occasion, these leaders create an environment of mutual respect, growth, and achievement. In the end, it's not about being nice, it's about being real, and that is what makes a leader truly effective. The concept of authenticity is vital in any relationship, whether personal or professional. When we prioritize being agreeable and avoid conflict, we may think we are fostering harmony, but what we are actually doing is sacrificing our authenticity. The truth is, people don't need us to be agreeable at all times. What they need is for us to be real, to be honest, and to stand by our convictions. When we become more focused on being liked or pleasing others, we lose sight of who we truly are and what we genuinely believe. Authenticity doesn't mean being harsh or inconsiderate. It simply means being true to ourselves. It's about expressing our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs without fear of judgment. When we are authentic, we show up as our full selves, and this is what fosters real connections with others. People can sense when someone is being insincere, when they are holding back or pretending to agree just to avoid tension. This creates a disconnect. They can feel it in their interactions with us, even if they can't always articulate it. The absence of authenticity in relationships leads to a lack of trust, and without trust, no relationship, whether personal or professional, can thrive. Being authentic requires a level of vulnerability, and vulnerability can be uncomfortable. It means sharing our true opinions even when they are unpopular, challenging ideas we believe to be wrong, and standing firm in our values, even if it's difficult. But it is through this vulnerability that true connection is formed. When we show up as we are, we allow others to do the same, creating an environment of openness and honesty. In contrast, when we hide our true selves to keep the peace or to avoid conflict, we create an atmosphere of superficiality. The relationships we build under these conditions are fragile and shallow because they are not based on real understanding. In the workplace, authenticity is equally critical. A team that values authenticity is one that encourages diverse perspectives, fosters innovation, and promotes collaboration. When we shy away from sharing our true thoughts or disagreeing with the status quo, we contribute to a culture of silence and conformity. This stifles creativity and growth. The best teams are not built on everyone agreeing all the time. They are built on open, respectful dialogue where all voices are heard. When we bring our authentic selves to work, we encourage others to do the same, creating a dynamic where ideas are challenged. Solutions are more creative, and the collective knowledge of the team is leveraged. When we choose to be agreeable rather than authentic, we hold back not only from others but from ourselves as well. We become trapped in a cycle of people pleasing, saying yes when we mean no, or agreeing with ideas we don't truly support. Over time, this leads to frustration, burnout, and a sense of disconnection from our own values and purpose. Authenticity requires us to be true to our own needs, opinions, and desires, and by doing so, we create a more fulfilling life. We build stronger, more meaningful relationships because they are rooted in truth, not in fear of conflict or rejection. Being real is one of the most powerful things we can do. It requires courage, it requires vulnerability, and sometimes it requires standing alone. But in the end, it is the path to deeper, more genuine connections with others and with ourselves. When we choose authenticity over agreeableness, we show up as our best selves, and that is the foundation for lasting respect and trust. Clarity is one of the most important ingredients in any healthy relationship or productive environment. Yet it is often overlooked in the name of being nice. When we avoid difficult conversations or avoid setting clear expectations because we don't want to upset someone, we end up creating confusion and ambiguity. This lack of clarity isn't a gift, it's a hindrance. People can't meet expectations if they don't know what they are, and they can't improve if they aren't given honest feedback. Without clarity, frustration builds, resentment grows, and progress stalls. It's easy to think that avoiding hard conversations will keep the peace, but in reality, it just delays the inevitable. When we don't communicate our thoughts, boundaries, or expectations clearly, the issues don't disappear, they fester. And because we are being too nice, we might let these issues slide or hope they resolve themselves on their own. Unfortunately, they rarely do. People may not even be aware that something is bothering us, and if we don't speak up, they continue their behavior, unknowingly creating tension. The longer we avoid confronting these problems, the bigger they become. And when they finally come to the surface, the conversation is often much harder than it would have been had we addressed it earlier. In any work environment, the lack of clarity can be particularly damaging. Teams need clear direction, and individuals need to understand their roles and responsibilities. If leaders or colleagues are afraid to give direct feedback or set clear expectations because they don't want to come off as harsh or demanding, they risk leaving people in the dark. When people don't understand what is expected of them, it creates confusion, inefficiency, and disengagement. Tasks get lost in translation, deadlines are missed, and performance declines. This can lead to frustration and resentment, not just toward each other, but toward the leader or team member who didn't communicate clearly in the first place. In relationships, clarity can prevent misunderstandings and unmet needs. Often, we assume that the people we care about will intuitively know what we need or how we feel, but that's rarely the case. Clear communication is essential to ensure that both parties understand each other's expectations, boundaries, and desires. If one person is constantly agreeing to things they don't want to do or holding back their true feelings to avoid conflict, the relationship will eventually suffer. The other person may feel confused, hurt, or even resentful because they don't understand why things aren't working. By being clear and upfront about our needs, we allow for open dialogue, which creates a stronger, more resilient connection. Moreover, clarity builds trust. When we communicate openly, people know where they stand with us. They don't have to guess what we want or assume how we feel. When people can count on us to be direct and transparent, they are more likely to trust us, follow our lead, and be open with us in return. This transparency fosters a culture of respect and mutual understanding, where both parties feel comfortable expressing themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Being clear is a form of respect. It shows that we care enough about others to be honest with them. It means we value their time, their effort, and their relationship enough to avoid leaving them in the dark. Clear communication makes expectations explicit, prevents unnecessary conflicts, and paves the way for collaboration and growth. By setting aside the desire to be nice and embracing the courage to be clear, we create stronger, healthier, and more productive relationships in all areas of our lives.